Here we go. Here we go. Make sure I'm muted. Yep. Here we go, guys. And we're going to get a post out today on X. So hopefully we'll have more viewers. Play. Okay. Copy. Enter, control V. Oops. Let's see, are we live yet? Let's see. Are we live? Is this working? Huh. Oh, here we are. There we are. We'll post that since I know everything's working. Well, welcome back, everybody. Sorry about yesterday. I guess I should start off with the intro. Today is Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025. This is episode number 17 of Addressing the Issues. I want to apologize. I'm sorry I missed the update yesterday. I had car troubles on the way back and, had to spend an extra night on the road. It is what it is. Life happens, but we are back now, so I don't think we should be having any more issues such as we did yesterday. Once again, I'm sorry about that. But we're back on track. I know I said I'd be live on Monday yesterday, but things happened. A little bit more of another programming note. Something happening on YouTube? Oh, we're good. Okay. Another programming note, I had an interview this morning. It was talking about why I've supported President Trump since the beginning of his political career, when he went down the golden escalator. The interview is going to be on the update, or at the update 5524 on YouTube. It's a school podcast that students from Ecolint La Chat in Switzerland host. Hanging out with some cool people. They were really great and respectful hosts, so be sure to go check it out. I'll put a link to it when it comes out, I believe, on Monday. It should be, I think they said they put it up at 4:45, so it'll be at the same time as my show. If the link is out by then, I'll be sure to include it on my Monday episode. If not, it'll be on the Tuesday one, so don't worry, I'll get that link out to you guys, and I hope you all will go over there and watch it, drop a like, maybe comment, tell them they should get an A or whatever. But they were super fair and professional, so I appreciate them for hosting me, and I think we might have something planned in the future with them on my channel as well. Getting into, I guess, the main story today. Not today, it's from, I guess, over my break. I have bad news about what happened in D.C., the shooting on Wednesday, I believe. I'm sorry. Unfortunately, Specialist Sarah Beckstrom, 20 years old from Webster County, West Virginia, passed away from her injuries at a D.C. hospital on Thanksgiving Day. It said that she was surrounded by her family, but just pray for them. It's going to be a long holiday season after that. But this is just, once again, another example of how we're still paying for the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan. Not only did 13 Americans die in a preventable incident at Abbey Gate, but we continue to lose American soldiers years after the Biden regime's failures directly due to their policy decisions. But not only did we start funding the Taliban government in Afghanistan to the tune of $40 million plus in cash a week, but we also brought Taliban-adjacent individuals into our home, the United States, such as the individual who committed these attacks likely is Taliban-affiliated. This has been called out by people like Legend and Afghan National, fellow podcaster Sean Ryan, and has even been moved on by Representative Tim Burchett through the proposed No Tax Dollars for Terrorists Act, which is still sitting on the House Speaker's desk since the 9th of January this year. And also, there was Senator Shelley Moore Capito's bill, who has the bill to Stop Funding Global Terrorists Act, sitting on the Senate desk to be voted on since the 29th of January this year as well. But in regards to the story in D.C., Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf is still recovering in the hospital, but is reportedly showing signs of improvement, which is good. Continue to pray for Sergeant Wolf. Pray for his family. This is obviously a troubling time, a real uprooting from their Thanksgiving plans, obviously. Nobody intends to spend Thanksgiving in the hospital. Nobody intends to be a victim of a terrorist attack on U.S. soil. So this is an absolute tragedy for that family. Keep the Wolf family in your prayers. But this has also been warned by people like retired Lieutenant General Michael Flynn that there are sleeper cells from countries like Afghanistan and Venezuela. And they are inside our own country due to the lack of vetting by the Biden administration at the border for immigrants. And now we as Americans will continue to get to face the consequences. So what needs to happen before we realize we need to expedite these deportations and actually vet the thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who hitched, or not hundreds of thousands of people who hitched rides, but the thousands of people who hitched rides on our Air Force planes in the withdrawal from Kabul, the millions that crossed the border from the southern border illegally during the Biden administration. What do we need to do, or what do we need to happen to us before we realize that exporting these deportations is absolutely necessary? Would it be, a few more attacks on uniformed members of our armed forces at home on U.S. soil? A few more young women being brutally killed on a morning run like Lake and Riley? Do we need to have a few more children lured from their home to be assaulted in the worst way imaginable and then killed like Jocelyn Nungaray before we act? Or do we need an actual armed insurgency from immigrants taking over U.S. land like the apartment occupied by Tren de Aragua in Colorado? What needs to happen? Those have all happened. What could be worse? When is enough enough? That's the big question. When is enough enough? It's absolutely ridiculous. We're allowing our own nation's demise, and we're actually, in the case of Afghanistan, funding our own nation's demise. It's absolutely ridiculous. We've started taking small steps. President Trump had an executive order halting the 2 million asylum claims in the U.S. from third world countries. But when are we going to get the third world countries out of our country is the main question here. And it's not going fast enough because people are dying. So, on to another story. Secretary of the Department of War, Pete Hegseth, is under fire in the media for the use of a double tap strike on a narco-terrorist in Venezuela. So let's think about this rationally for a minute. All right, if your son or daughter or brother or sister was in the military, would you want them to be sent into the fiery drug-filled wreckage to try and save one of these narco-terrorists? I think the simple answer is no, you wouldn't. But do you think it's safe? Do you think that they have hundreds of thousands of dollars of drugs on these boats unarmed? Do you really think that's the case, or do you think they're defending themselves? I'd say they likely have at least one weapon on board. So now, what if they sent your son or daughter to save someone who pulls out a knife or gun in the water and attacks them in the deep sea? Do you think being hit by a missile on a boat made them more or less likely to want to be saved by a U.S. service member? I'd argue less. But I think this, unfortunately, is the safest way to handle people who traffic drugs and have no conscience and harming over 250,000 Americans through overdoses. It's sad, but unfortunately, it is the safest way. Am I even on? Be bad guys. I can't tell. Can anybody hear me? Chat. Oh, I thought I heard myself earlier. Uh-oh. Oh, I hear myself. Never mind. We're good. Okay, we're back, guys. Sorry, that freaked me out a little bit. But no, I mean, this is the safest way to handle these incidences of people who have very little cares about whether we as Americans survive or not. And do you think that these people would care to see? Thank you, MSJ. I appreciate it because I was not sure if it was working. But do you think they would care to see one more American dead in an act of revenge? I think probably not. And frankly, I do think this is the right call, using as many strikes as you need to. I don't want to see any Americans dead in a deep sea rescue mission of a narco-terrorist that went wrong because a narco-terrorist decided to play dead and decided to attack a U.S. service member in close quarters or hand-to-hand combat in the open sea. I don't want that casket coming back. I'd rather them return alive. Nobody deserves to die like that. But you do make the conscious choice to traffic deadly drugs into our country, and there will be consequences. And the consequences this administration has chosen is that your boat will be struck at sea until you are dead. It's unfortunate for them, but they have made these decisions. They have made these decisions that put them at peril. And they have no regard whether you're at peril, overdosing on what they're trying to transport here. They do not care. I guess to our last story of the day, and then I'll go into a little life anecdote of, I guess, my travels over the last couple of days. The U.S. Department of Transportation has threatened to shut down over 40% of U.S. trucking schools. This contains allegations that they helped illegal immigrants acquire CDLs. These schools are supposed to have 30 days to fix deficiencies in their schools, and another 4,500 are facing heat for more minute deficiencies, and they also could be shut down. And my argument is, or my position is, I would say shut them all down. Here's why. I'll tell you about my recent 2,000 mile, almost 2,000 mile, only 1,800, but almost 2,000 mile road trip. Starting off, within 2 hours of my house, I saw a double 53-foot trailer on the Florida Turnpike. That was within the first 2 hours. And you'd think if you have a load that big, why couldn't you just put it on a train? I don't know. Maybe they're averse to trains or something. But tractor trailers, or I guess vehicles with trailers in general, are often the main culprit of slowed traffic on the interstate. So I figured, what if we just banned all the trailers from the interstate system altogether? Just tell them you're all done. Put it on a train. But one of the main goals of the creation of our interstate system was to rapidly transport military supplies and equipment throughout America. So how can you rapidly transport anything if you're stuck behind two tractor trailers, stuck trying to pass each other with their speed governors both set to 60? You can't. You can't get anywhere fast. If we were being invaded, we'd be stuck behind tractor trailers. But I think the simple solution would just be to get all the trailers off the interstate system. Make it safer. You won't have those awful pileups, all that bad stuff that happens when tractor trailers mess up. You just put it on a train. And you go, now Sam, I have lots of concerns about this. So what happens to the truckers? Okay, I'll tell you. I'd have them limited to local traffic only, to and from a train depot for local deliveries or warehouses, but I'd keep them local. I'd keep them on low-speed roads. Or you can take the learn to code type of mentality and teach them to be train conductors. Teach them to build new rail or manage railroad depots. Have them drive the heavy equipment around a railroad depot loading and unloading trains. Then you'll say, oh, what about me? How do I get my Amazon delivery? From a train. It can be dropped off by a train like anything was in the past, and these can be delivered to your local distribution center, then taken locally to you by a tractor trailer if you want. I don't care. But as long as they're not on the interstate anymore, I think it would be best. So what about my motorhome vacation? I'd say take the highways. They're slower speed and more scenic. You're on vacation. You don't have to get anywhere fast. And then you'll say, oh, well, what about when I want to take my boat to and from the beach? It's on a trailer. And to that, I'd say either leave it at the beach at a wet or dry dock or take the back roads. Let the high-speed traffic flow. Stop blocking traffic. People have places to be. But I think this would allow for the American road trip to once again be great. Cargo on rails and travelers on the interstates. Keep them separate. Less multi-ton death machines on the road means safer travels for families on vacation. But it does seem unobjectionable. I mean, especially when you realize when trains were thriving, so was the U.S. economy. When we were building things like College Station, we were doing a lot better. What about NASCAR trailers? I don't know how they'd get there. I guess they're just going to have to take the highway. Unlucky, guys. Or they can just drive their car. Send it 200. I mean, as long as it's not a trailer. We'll see if they can get their NASCARs all the way there. But I do think this would allow for the American road trip to be great again. Be less multi-ton death machines on the road and just safer travels for everybody else, families. You don't have to worry if the truck behind you is going to break in time, that it doesn't crush your back seat. And I think everybody would feel a little bit better about that. But when you realize that, like, these trains, I was saying this a minute ago, trains, when we were using them, it was when our economy was flourishing. And then we switched over to 18-wheelers. And look where we're at now. I'm not saying there's a correlation, but there could be. So what would I want to see? Personally, I would want to see train depots as busy as seaports. I think it would represent a healthy U.S. economy, and it would show the manufacturing sector was once again flourishing like it used to. And I want to see no more trucks on the interstate system. I'm sorry. I'm tired of your governor being set to 60, and you're trying to race each other. It's not working. You're both going 60. And I don't want to see any more multi-day long-haul truckers. The only time I'd want to see tractor trailers is on local roads, making deliveries to and from manufacturing hubs and rail yards. Trains basically do the same thing as a truck, except for they're more effective, and there's much less risk for an automobile fatality. So, I mean, you may not have your half-day Amazon delivery anymore. I'm sorry. Maybe you could just go to the Target and get it instead. I'm sorry. Maybe Walmart has it. But I don't think that risking our lives for Amazon and these people that want to put 18-wheelers over the interstate is actually a reasonable thing to give up. I don't think we should be giving up our lives so people can get their Amazon deliveries a little faster. I think that's rather unreasonable. Maybe it's selfish on my part. I'm not sure. I guess that's really all I had for today. I mean, I had that interview this morning. It took up a good chunk of time. And obviously I couldn't prepare yesterday. I was still on the road until after my start time. So that's why we didn't have an episode yesterday. But if you would, please be sure to like, comment, follow, subscribe. If you want to support me financially, I believe there's a little green dollar sign on Rumble. You can make a one-time donation. You can make a monthly donation. I appreciate any of it. It helps me keep this show going, helps me keep getting the news to you, and allows me, I guess, to spout off about what I see wrong after a 2,000-mile road trip on Tuesday evenings. But if you would, I mean, obviously donating helps a lot, but if you can't, just share, like, comment, subscribe. That helps me push this out on the algorithm. And if you saw any parts that you found rather intriguing somebody else could use, feel free to clip it. I think there's a clip function on YouTube. I'm not sure if it's on Rumble. But yeah, if you'd like to help me out, those are easy ways you can do it. I'm still looking for my first sponsorship. If anybody wants to sponsor me that's not Big Pharma, I'm likely in. But yeah, that's all I have for you today. And I guess we will be back again tomorrow at 4:45, and I will not miss it. So thank you guys. I hope all my people on the East Coast get home safe today. And I hope my people further west can finish up their workday strong and get home safe as well. It's the beginning of Christmas season. We've got our little decoration out. Merry Christmas, everybody. I'll see you again soon.